Eyup cock, welcome back. We are going to predict this weekend's games in League One. I got some decent ones last week. The Stockport bang on, 1-0 away at Rotherham. Port Vale winning again, Stevenage winning again, but some serious stinky poo-poos from me. And first up at 12:30, we have got Wimbledon and Wycombe. Now, I did actually say that I thought Wycombe would lose at weekend at home to Northampton, but that is when they had Mike Dodds. With Duffy in charge, this is a different Wycombe immediately. And I'll touch on them first before I go and start tickling Wimbledon's balls. But Wycombe, obviously 2 wins in the last 3 games now. They did get 1 with Dodds against Mansfield at home, but after losing to Peterborough, he got chopped. They bet Northampton 2-0, and Northampton hadn't conceded in 3 games before. They'd won all 3 games. So it was a good win, despite Northampton not being a bigger side or a threat really to anything. You won't look at them and think, oh, God, I'm scared about that. But I think it was a good win, how they easily dealt with it as well. Now, Duff has promised high attacking football, which to be honest, I don't know what he's on about. But one thing that I will say is that our away record under him was quite good. Now, our away record's going to be good anyway because realistically, we want a better sides. But Wimbledon, coming onto this now, this ain't an easy game for anybody in this league. I'll tell you what, for Cardiff to have gone there and won earlier in its season, there will not be many that do. At their place especially, Wimbledon are going to be a very, very tough nut to crack. Apart from the Cardiff one, they've won every other game in the league this season at home. And that includes Lincoln and Barnsley, who are currently in top 6. And then Rotherham will crap. But it is back-to-back wins for Wimbledon so far. They are up to 9th after beating Rotherham and going away to Donny and winning. They are a good team. I don't want to stereotype all the time, but defensively, quite solid. You know what I mean? Set piece is good. But Stevens is good. Stevens is a decent little forward for this division. He's top at league. Well, he's not top at league. He's top of his own league personnel-wise. He's got 5 goals and 2 assists, which does make him joint top. But you've got to scroll down to Onyedinma, who was on 2 goals for Wycombe as a top goal scorer. He is the only one that has got 2 goals for Wycombe. Apart from that, which again is quite a good thing because they've scored 10 goals, Wycombe. So it shows that they're gaining from all over the place. But I don't think they've got a talisman and a focal point like Wimbledon have with Stevens. The Coney aspect is obviously gone from last season. With Woodrow up front, you do expect goals. It's got to be said. He knows where net is if you can get it to him in box, Woodrow. But are they going to be able to get it in box that often? We are good defensively, Wimbledon are. And how hard they are to break down, I'm not overly sure, you know. I'm not overly sure. Wimbledon aren't drawn a game yet. I think that changes here on the 10th one. I will go a Wimbledon 1, Wycombe 1 scoreline for the first game at F12. Another half-12 at Leyton, Orient, Stevenage. A tough game to call this. I think I got the Stevenage one bang on last week with 2-1 at home to Exeter maybe. But Leyton Orient are a very dodgy team. 11 goals scored, 15 conceded. I think it does just show the strengths and weaknesses immediately. And I've been banging on about, to be fair, how good they do look going forward because they're having a lot of shots with Connolly, Karoma. They have got some very talented players at the top end of that pitch. But they're not scoring as many as I'd probably expect them to with them sort of lads that they've got. Stevenage have obviously started outstanding. They are second with game in hand. 6 wins, only 1 loss in 8 games so far. Only 6 goals conceded. To be honest, I do think Stevenage are going to be quite realistic with what they think they can achieve. I think a lot of their away games, especially against decent sides, let's say, like Leyton Orient, I think Stevenage will go here with a game plan of, let's just not concede. If we can spring on counter-attacks and we get the opportunity to go forward, let's take it. But I think their primary objective here is going to be to go and not lose. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of shots from Stevenage. And I think they'll get some by doing that. It's quite boring and disgusting. But I'm going to go for a back-to-back 1-1. I mean, first 2 predictions here. Apologies. We are going to get into a good game though next. Get ready. Okay. Right. Let's be realistic. Every comment on these League One videos is, another game, another non-loss for Barnsley. Which might be true, but we're 6th with a game in hand, lads. So, calm your beans, alright? We should have won against Blackpool, based on first half, maybe in second half not, and maybe a draw would have been fair. Oh, no, whatever, who cares? It's been and gone. Let's look forward, okay? Port Vale at home. Oh, I said a few weeks ago now, in fact, I said it 2 weeks ago, and I've got both results bang on, that they'd win the next 2, which were Exeter away and Mansfield at home. We are obviously going to pose a bigger threat to Port Vale than them 2 teams. But Devante Cole, an ex-Barnsley man who scored 18 goals, I believe, last time we were here, but then threw his teddy out and were wank for the last 6 months. But since he's gone to Port Vale, 3 goals and an assist, I believe, in 3 games. He's going to get dogs abuse all game, you'd think, for Barnsley fans. I don't think there's many that like him and the way that he left and the way he conducted himself. But do I think he will score in this game? Yeah, I do. I'm not going to lie to you. I really do. But you can get your comments in. I really don't care. I think there will be quite a lot made of that in build up to this game from probably both sides, mainly Barnsley fans, because I know what we're all like. We're We're very glass half empty, a lot of Barnsley fans. But I think there'll be a lot made of the Cole, oh my God, on his homecoming, what's he going to do? He started well, is he going to score? He probably will. But I think despite Port Vale being a decent side, I genuinely think we will breeze past this. I really do. I think this is just different. The mentality side of things, regardless of the actual level of football, I think the mentality side of things from Orient as manager and the crop of players, they look like they take accountability this time, whereas they didn't last time. The only other loss that we've had so far this season, we're away at Wimbledon. I don't think we actually played that bad, in fairness. We just couldn't find it in final third. Very much like what we're happening at Blackpool. And then at game after that, we tonked Huddersfield 3-1. I'm going to go for the same exact thing. I'm going to go Barnsley 3, Port Vale 1. I do think we are the better side. I genuinely think we are one of the best sides in this league. I really do. And despite me thinking that Port Vale are half decent as well, and they'll be well away from danger, which they will be, I think we should breeze past this fairly comfortably. So I will go Barnsley 3, Port Vale 1. After that, Reds. Ooh, 2 orange teams. Bradford and Blackpool, baby. Now, I made quite a song and dance about Bradford in my EFL review that I did. They are top at league. Outstanding start. Absolutely fantastic. The level of teams that they've played, I think it's probably Ardie's starting division and the top at league coming up from League 2. Genuinely fantastic. Blackpool, that first half, were absolutely honking dog shit against Barnsley. But second half, when they come out and made it quite gritty and horrible, we struggled. They really put it on us in second half. And Bradford, my long-term vision with Bradford and the mentality side of things, I think they struggle being favourite. I really do. Even in the games that they've not picked points up in so far, which is very limited in fairness, Northampton away, Peterborough away, and Donny away, 3 games where you'll probably look at and think, I maybe met these favourites here. And they're the games that they drop points in. I think it's same in League 2 for a number of years that they're in there. What were it, 5-6 years, something like that. They're going to have been favourite every week, year on end. And it just never really stuck for them. And teams will have gone to them, sat back, just defensive low blocks, trying to invite you to sort of break them down. And I think that's where they struggled. Against teams that are more expansive and trying to attack you more, Bradford have obviously picked a lot of these sides to bits. Luton, Cardiff, Stockport, some really good sides. Blackburn and Stoke in Cup. They've done really well, Bradford, so far. But against a side that is going to come and make it horrible for you in Blackpool, and I do think they will just go for a point. I really do with Bruce. I think they will go and sit back, try and play on counter-attacks, get it oofed in air quite a bit. And I think Bradford will struggle to break them type of teams open. So despite Bradford being miles better than Blackpool, they are miles better as a side. So clear, it's ridiculous. But so are we, and we lost to these. I think Bradford, don't get me wrong, I still think Bradford will get something at home. I think they'll be outstanding at home all year. Oh, I hate doing it. 1-1 again. Sorry. Really sorry. 1-1. This one won't be though. Burton and Plymouth. Burton were bottom at league. They did come off a backer 0-0 away at Huddersfield, which is a great point in fairness. But Burton are bottom. They played less games than everybody else in fairness. But a real lack of goal threat is hindering them at the minute. 5 goals in 7 games is nowhere near good enough. And 2 were against Barnsley, which they still lost that game. Plymouth lost at home to Peterborough, who are also crap. But the amount of chances that they created, Plymouth, I do think if you get them chances against Burton, you will probably take them. And that really don't make that much sense because Peterborough are miles worse defensively than what Burton are. I'm just speaking from a luck perspective. It just didn't really fall for Plymouth when it could have done. I just don't think they had toss at coin, really, in a lot of the chances that they actually took. But I do think that'll change here. That's my thinking, really. Plymouth make a lot of chances. Yes, they started horrendously. They're in 17th. They've been crap by their own expectations coming into this season. But I do think they will probably come here and win. Starting to worry a little bit for Burton now, you know. And a lot of seasons that they've survived in this league, they start crap anyway and then pick up. Look at last season. Everybody thought they were dead and buried. They had like 4 points in December. Then they ended up fairly comfortably surviving. They survived with a game to go. But I do think it's more doom, gloom, misery, shaboom for Burton. I think Plymouth come here and win. I will give them a 2-1 win away to the Greens. Exeter and Huddersfield. Now, don't just look at this and think that Huddersfield are going to win immediately. Huddersfield have got 1 win in 4 games. They have been poor. Well, realistically, since the Barnsley game, I think they've been poor. Stevenage in all comps have lost 4 games in a row. We all know where this is going. They did go to Stevenage and lose, which a lot of teams will do. But as we addressed, Stevenage, if they win the game in hand, they go top at league. So it's a fantastic start for them. They are a good side. But Exeter, I do think, for the first time in a couple of weeks, looked half decent. Obviously, they didn't have the look at draw. They ended up coming away with nothing, and that's all that realistically matters. And they've lost 4 in a row for a reason. But I do think the chances created did lie with Exeter. And in all honesty, I do honestly think they will win this game. Huddersfield are they're just weird at the minute. They honestly are just a weird team. In the last 4 games, they obviously lost to Barnsley. They bet Peterborough, but only 3-2. Who were awful. They had 1 point at time, Peterborough. They lost every game, effectively. They got tonked off Bradford. And then despite creating a fair few chances against Burton, just couldn't find clinical edge in it. I could see it being the same sort of thing here. Exeter have conceded 1 more goal so far than what Burton have, and that's it. But they offer a lot more going forward, Exeter do. You know what I like this? I'm going Exeter 1-0. I just don't think Huddersfield at the minute is showing what everybody expects them to show. And it is difficult because I've referenced this and used same points with other teams with Premier League sides coming down to Championship. But it's a new manager, loads of new players. You've got to sort of change your expectations. They are 5th at minute, despite not playing that well. That's a really good start, a really good positive start, points tally-wise, despite being poor by their own standards. But I think they will go and traipse all the way down to our end of country and come back with niche. I will go 0-2 for Huddersfield, 1-0 Exeter. Luton and Donny. Luton have been crap. Luton have been absolutely crap. I do think Bloomfield is looking over his shoulder a little bit. Donny, despite a fantastic start and now 2 losses in a row at home to Wimbledon and away at Wigan, I do think there is a clear difference between Donny and Bradford for a side that is sort of riding a lot of momentum as Champions of League 2 and coming up. They didn't make loads of new additions, but they did well to keep the best players. I think they will sort of find the place naturally. Whereas Bradford, I think, have moved past that and you're sort of looking at them as a threat to something. Luton, like I said, they've started poorly. They lost to Plymouth other week, then they've lost to Lincoln away. Lincoln again have started quite well. They are 3rd in league. And again, I think Luton have had a fairly tough start. But it's just not clicking for them. They've not conceded loads of goals, but in the last few games, they really have. The one thing that I would say, which again, I do think sometimes you've just got to strip it back and look at it like this. Luton's players, despite a good start for Donny, Luton's players are miles better than Donny's are. Absolutely miles better. And this is with Luton starting really poorly. But I just look at this and think, with the misery that Donny have had in the last couple of games against sides that are nowhere near the standard across a full season that Luton are, I think Luton will get back to winning ways fairly comfortably. And I hate to say it because I quite like Donny and I hope they do well. But same as Luton, to be fair, Barnsley South. I make this a fairly comfortable Luton win. I will go 2-0 to the Hatters to get the season back on track. Christ alive. Mansfield and Rotherham. Rotherham are 4th bottom, lost 1-0 at home to Stockport. They are crap. Just end of, really. But Mansfield haven't won in 4 games now. They did lose away at Port Vale, but they had 10 men for ages. It has got to be said, so context included in that. And to be fair, when you look at the last 4 fixtures, which they've not won in, one's away at Lincoln, were 3rd. One's at home to Stevenage, were 2nd. The Wycombe one, yeah, that was quite a poor loss, to be fair. And Port Vale had a red card for ages. They're a much better side than Rotherham are. They actually just are. And I've said this in a few different videos. The mentality side of things from Rotherham is shocking. It's absolutely shocking. They do not make me think they can win any game. Just with how they set up and how they act when they do start winning, which has been rare. You can't just be sitting back every time you go 1-0 up or 1 goal in front. That is the sign of a side that is just shitting the pants and just is desperate to get any sort of points. Not so much wins to try and propel you up table. It's just like, any points on board will do. Happy days. And I do think that is what Hampshire has been like since being appointed as manager of these. In terms of squad level, I think this is quite even. But the home aspect, the mentality aspect of Clough versus Hampshire, this is chalk and cheese, mate. I think Mansfield win this game. Which, again, if other results don't go for them, Rotherham could be bottom at league after 9 games. But I think Mansfield win this 2-1. We'll just go for the most classic score in football, which I hate saying again. But I will go Mansfield 2, Rotherham 1. I do just think they look better in almost every department, almost, marginally, especially in dugout, than what Rotherham do. So it'll be 4 losses in 5 for the Millers, but what can you do? I do think you've got to make an hard decision with a man that you like in dugout, me, Rotherham. But I'll go with 2-1 Mansfield win. Northampton and Bolton. Now, Northampton, I'm quite a fan of, in fairness, from last season. I was rooting for him to stay up for ages. But they're offering nothing going forward. Absolutely nothing. They're building somewhat success, because the 15th, to be fair, and they've only played 8 games. They are building the success that they've got so far on defensive stability, but they're not offering a great deal going forward. Bolton absolutely hammered Wigan 4-1. Absolutely battered them. The stats for every game lie with Bolton. I think that result, to not limp over the line against them as well, but for Bolton to hammer them, I think that is the start of a side that will be right at top now. I think these are going to kick on and win a lot of games. They're absolutely frightening going forward. These are terrifying. The wingers that they've got, the attacking depth. I do think you can get them at defensively. I've said that loads of times now, but I stand by it. But going forward, there are not many sides better than these. And I think that will carry on in this game. They've only lost 1 game so far. They have got a lot of draws, to be fair. But yeah, I think that Wigan game is a turning point. I will go 2-0. 2-0 to Bolton. They are a top team, honestly. Peterborough and Lincoln. Peterborough back-to-back wins, you know. Fair enough. Fair enough. Nice. But you are coming up against third place Lincoln, who've won back-to-back games against Burton away and Luton at home. They've not lost, I don't think, since first game. I'm sure it was that, or second one against Wimbledon. 14 scored, 9 conceded for Lincoln. They're a good side. A lot of experience against a side that's got barely any. I do think if Peterborough to stay up, middle at part for them has got to really turn up in a lot of games. But I am at the point where I think Peterborough have got to be their absolute best to win. And I don't think Lincoln truly have. I do think the squad is actually quite good. Regardless, Peterborough are going to be high on life after 2 wins in a row. They are still third bottom, so they need to get a few more on bounce quite quickly. But I don't think they do it. I think Lincoln are just a much better side than them, to be honest. It's got to be said. And I say 2-0 away win here. I'm trying to envision it now when I'm looking through these games on Monday. And I see Lincoln 2, Peterborough 0. So I'll go for another away win. Go on the boys. Stockport and Reading. To be fair, good win for Stockport away at Rotherham. Rotherham are crap, but at home they've not lost that many games yet or dropped many points in general at home. They're getting tonked away. But a good win. Good balling from Norwood, as you'd expect to someone with that much quality. And Kyle Wooten has scored quite a lot of goals so far. To be fair, I think Reading are toss. But they've only lost 1 in the last 5 games and it was to us. I don't know how, because they looked awful against Barnsley. Stockport at home. Yeah, come on, man. Only Bradford have won there, haven't they, so far? Yeah. Sorry, Reading fans. I don't think there is truly that much to go on at minute. Because the bits that I saw of you were all negative. So I don't want to just sit here and spout that nonsense when you're actually doing all right results-wise, despite your performances not being that good. I do think Stockport will pose a bigger threat to you, though. Probably similar to Barnsley did. And again, quite a poor start by their own standards. But Stockport are 8th. So a lot of teams just haven't started that well. Sides that you think are going to be near the top. And they're still in and around it anyway. They're not like absolutely miles down at bottom. I think Stockport win this. Again, fairly comfortably. 3-1. 3-1 Stockport. And they're not really biggest scorers ever anyway. But they scored 14 in 9 games, which is alright so far. But yeah, 3-1 Stockport. And then finally, Wigan versus Cardiff. Cardiff, do you know what? Is their form going to switch round now? After starting so brilliantly, and to be fair, they are 4th, and they've played 1 less game than a lot of other sides in and around it. If they win the game in hand, they could go top or joint top. But in the last 2 games against decent sides, they went to Stockport and equalised in the very last minute. And to be fair, they got tonked off Bradford. They could have had a lot more goals, Cardiff, in fairness, but so could Bradford. And that has now marked the end of an indestructible defence that had only conceded penalties. That has now changed. I do worry about the mentality side of things going into... To be fair, Wigan have actually been quite good, especially at home so far. But this is the first test properly, I think, for Cardiff. From a mental side of things, obviously footballing-wise, they've proved what they are. They're a good team. But mentality-wise, how do they adapt? How do they change? And how do they deal with losing, for a start, conceding open play goals and not winning in 2 games? How do you deal with that? I think they deal with it by winning. Personally, I think Wigan are good at home, but they're definitely flawed. Definitely. And I think Cardiff win this 2-1. I'll go another away win. 2-1 Cardiff. But don't be surprised to be watching video on Monday and seeing that Wigan have got something from this game. I just think Cardiff, footballing-wise, look a much better side than what Wigan do. So I'll give them a 2-1 win. But that's that. Case, absolute pleasure. Love you all. Make sure you like, subscribe if you do enjoy. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in a bit. Goodbye. You Reds.
I say I'm a man, yes, I'm a mucker. I think of me saying as a right good looker. I say up that. Show us the tits.